invest in decentralization. So as people are in the villages trying to demonstrate,
Pravin, improve your speaker. Your speaker is very low. Can you just fix your speaker or your mic?
Am I still low?
It's okay.
Okay. So there are people who are in different parts of the country. You find there are people who are in the villages and they're still they want to still air out their issues. So if you make it centralized, it will be a bit difficult. You will start demoralizing people because the moment you start picking individuals, that's one. If you take an individual to, let's say, a position of leadership, and for example, there are people who have not seen this person, for example, on the streets, that's one. Two, you'll not know how you're going to arrive at these leaders. What criteria will you use? There are people who are not on these platforms, but will definitely form good leaders. So there are people who are doing these demonstrations out there outside social media. So we have people on Twitter, we have people on TikTok, we have people on Instagram and all other platforms. And then we have people who are not in any social media, but they are still agitating for their rights, but they can also make good leaders. But how democratic will be that process if you decide to do it right now? So those one will not get a chance to, they'll definitely be demoralized. So that's why you also do not need to have the leaders, because I still believe those people who are pushing to have a leader are definitely infiltrators. Then another issue is, when you pick leaders right now, the movement has just started moving. If you pick leaders right now, you are likely to pick people who are state infiltrators, people who are from the wrong side of the system, that will now be in the position of leadership and are definitely going to give the information to the people that are not supposed to get that information. And if you look at someone, there are people who are on the timeline who have started changing the tune. They have changed. They have not even sought justice for the people who are killed, but they already are singing the tune of the system, which is definitely oppressing people. Then the other thing you have to realize is this: these guys, if you want to beat a dictator or people who are rogue, you need to think like them, then think better than them to beat them. So these are people who base their own political ideology on tribal lines. The moment you pick leaders and they see like 2 3 people are from a specific region, now they'll push the tribal card very hard. They will send those mercenaries that they send every morning to come and attack the whole movement based on tribe. They'll start saying this community has gotten more people, that community have gotten more people, and then it becomes a tribal thing. That is also another card that they'll throw at you. Then you need to understand there's also this issue I saw of forming a political party. You need to understand another thing. When you form a political party right now, they'll start treating you as politicians, not as citizens who are agitating for change. You form a political party right now, you now become politicians who now they'll have the ability to call you some elites, or rather people who want to overthrow a government. So you are not citizens who are agitating rights. Now you become people who are plotting a coup. And we are here just trying to push for accountability. Because another thing you need to understand is, when this movement started, people needed change. They didn't really need to get CS positions, etc. That these people are telling you, front someone to go and sit there. We didn't want that. We wanted these guys to be accountable, to tell us they'll do this and do the things that they promise. So they did not deliver these things. So we are pushing them to deliver. So we do not want really to get there. We want them to appoint people who have integrity and can deliver these things, which is not something that should be had. Now, another thing that you also need to understand is that if you let the government keep chasing ghosts, it's easier for them not to be able to get one person. But if you don't, but if you appoint these leaders, then it will be easier to get these people, and they will definitely either buy them or they will silence them permanently if they cannot buy them. So the greatest weapon we have against people who are rogue, that is, and they are definitely killing Kenyans, abducting them. It is the ability to be leaderless and civic education. Those are the two things and the two most powerful weapons that we have. Then another thing that we have not addressed, I've seen Kenyan Germans talking about low numbers in the spaces, etc. You need to understand there are two things. When you are fighting a war, it's both mental and then physical on the field. That is the protest. So the government has sent the police officers who have been brutalizing people. That is intended to kill you mentally. People are being murdered. It is affecting most people mentally. And if you want to understand the impact of that, it is intended to bring the women who are coming on the street off the streets, because most women are emotionally easily affected emotionally, so they will not want to keep coming out. But you need to also encourage those people that they are still agitating for their rights, and as much as we push this, they also need to understand that they can also do the other work of online, sharing posters of probably people who have been abducted, people are missing. They can still participate in that way. So just encourage them to be a part of the whole thing, but they need to also understand that we need to also understand that people also need that support when it comes to the mental aspect of it, because these are the people are agitating for their rights. And the abuse of human rights is one of the leading causes of mental health challenges. And as someone who also advocates for mental health advocacy in itself, I am one person who is going to the street because I can see this brutality. I can feel the pinch. So as a person, I joined this movement because I feel this
Thank
thing
you.
affecting me as
Thank
an
you. Hold there.
individual. Thank you.
Ndego advocate, you were to raise some issues on the petition. You have petitioned the is it the impeachment of the presidency? And then
Um,
there was, yes, go on, go on. The mic is yours now.
uh,
Tell us.
thank you, Eric. Thank you, everybody, for the submissions made. The gentleman, I think, from Zimbabwe made very able submissions in respect to the GMOs. I think those are some of the things we must pick up. Additionally, just to bring the members up to speed, I did share with Eric the content of the petition. The petition has 50, I think, about 3 or 4 major prayers, where we are asking the um, High Court of Kenya to make a determination whether or not Kenyans can participate directly in bringing down or in removing Mr. William Ruto and Mr. Gachagua from office. We have gone to court through or seeking to enforce the provisions of Article 1, which provides that power belongs to the people and they may exercise that power directly or indirectly. So the indirect aspects of people's power in our petition, we are claiming that it has failed because Parliament has failed to hold Mr. William Ruto and Mr. Gachagua to account. Parliament has also refused to apply the available constitutional tools to hold Mr. William Ruto and Mr. Gachagua to account. And therefore, we are asking ourselves and we are asking High Court to make a determination whether at that particular time, Parliament can be deemed to have negated on its duties and obligations, and whether, upon that finding, whether the people can therefore exercise their sovereignty directly. And the means that we are proposing to exercise our sovereignty is through a referendum. We're asking the High Court to make a finding that a government can be established through an election, and the same government can be removed by the people through a referendum. That is the substantive question we are asking the High Court. The grounds upon which our petition is premised is that there is serious diminishing of capacity on the part of Mr. William Ruto and Mr. Kashagua's government, and that diminishing has withered the confidence of the people. It has rendered his government illegitimate, and therefore we're asking the High Court to give us a leeway where people can participate directly in removing him from power. We are asking the High Court to make sure that this determination is made before October, so that people can go to a referendum and vote to remove Mr. William Ruto from office. Our argument is that a referendum is not only a tool that can perhaps be used to bring about change of the constitution or to bring about change of constituencies or anything, or the amendment of the constitution. We are saying that a referendum is also a mean or a tool available to Kenyans through which a government can be established. So the other issues we are raising is that, for example, the other day he went to the US. He signed some covenants and agreed that Kenya should be a non-NATO ally without the participation of the people of Kenya. without the participation of the Parliament of Kenya. And we are asking that he has actually sold out our sovereignty. The other issue that you also raised in our petition, among others, is that he has agreed that the US should create an a military base in Lamu without asking the people of Kenya to participate in making that determination. To us, is that he has completely sold out again our sovereignty, where foreign entities and foreign states will establish their military base here without consulting the Kenyans. So those are some of the issues that we have raised, among other issues of breakdown of governance. And we are hoping that the High Court will be able to agree with us and give us an opportunity to argue our referendum, or to carry out our referendum. We are asking many people to join this petition, whether you belong to your professional groups, whether you want to be individuals. We are asking especially the professional groups or the NGOs and civil societies to join this petition. We have a pool of volunteer lawyers who are willing to take up your matters and urge or argue this case before court. We are asking the Chief Justice to appoint a bench of not less than 5 judges who are going to hear and determine this case. We have very solid facts and grounds that we are relying on in respect to asking the High Court to declare that Kenyans can remove or change a regime through constitutional means of a referendum. Those are some of the issues that we have raised in our petition. I have shared a copy of the same with Eric. Perhaps Eric may be posting it in this forum for people to go through it and read and understand the issues that we are raising before the High Court. I would reiterate once more that people are free to join this petition, because the more the merrier. If you're able to collect signatures from wherever you are, as long as they are designated signatures in support of the petition for referendum, we'll be able to take those signatures again and collect them in our affidavits and show the court the weight of the case and the desire that people have. Of course, the argument about the loss of legitimacy is premised on the ongoing protest against government and the inability of Mr. William Ruto to protect life, which is so sacred, that he has unleashed his militias to go and kill Kenyans who are exercising their constitutional right. So we are saying that Kenyans have a right to remove him because he has failed to defend the constitution, which he himself swore to defend. So those are some of the issues, Eric, we are raising in our petition. I'll still remain available for further consultation or clarification. Thank you.
Can I go?
Okay, asante sana, advocates. Let me bring on board Abdi. Good evening, sir. What do you have to say?
Thank you. My name is Abdi. I am joining you from Toronto. And here is and I would say thank you to Eric, Nyakundi, Edgar, Ndwega, Advocate Njiro, and Willis, and everyone on the space, and all the speakers joining who spoke. Lately, some friends in the diaspora and around have been thinking that because Raila has joined the government, our movement is over. Let me address this sentiment. Our struggle is not yet about any single individual or political alliance. It's about the collective will of the people of Kenya. Our mission is to create a just, equitable, prosperous nation that prosperous and mission continues regardless of the political shift. Raila's decision does not define our movement nor our resolve. We must stay focused on our goals, mobilize the youth, and work towards change we want to see. Our journey is far from over, and together we'll keep pushing. Having said that, I believe coalition arrangements in Kenya have always been short-lived.
and formed for special purpose. This time is not different. The political class consistently unite for their selfish agenda, ignoring the root cause of our issues. The Kenya Kwanza coalition has been buying legitimacy across the political divide. President Ruto represents the old school of thought of Moi, which is now outdated. We saw recently the touring the country, seeking legitimacy, parading his cabinet appointees, politics of tokenism, Mutieto syndrome. This has been, and now this has been going on like people being cabinet secretary being paraded in now heading to the home turf of Wycliffe Oparanya and trying to seek leveraging on local loyalty. This was create an illusion of widespread and legitimacy based on cheers from the local community. I would say the president politics still represents politics of mass manipulation, engaging tactics that deceive the populace. Despite this effort, there is glaring political incompetence reflected in the continued failure to deliver on the promises and on the process and to govern effectively. The people while on negotiation, no. Their demands are well known, accessible. The senator said in earlier, Kenya our software is working, and we having said that, and our politicians also should respect Kenyans who elected them. We are not as foolish as they think or naive. Finally, the KK government is all about political settlement between right Ruto. There is no economic benefit to the citizens. And we see the KK regime is overwhelmed by responsibility and status of their office. They are yet to settle. In reality, they are in charge of this country. This information all divide, as you have seen, legitimacy through tribal cabinet appointments. Kenyans will silently and painfully anything the regime throws at them. We are up. It's not that we are up. We are not up against two people. We are up now against an entire system and alliances, not just one person. It is them versus us. Here is the step to take to victory, nane match, as they say. Mobilize the youth. They must lead the change, organize, educate the young people about their power and potential. Let's encourage active participation in the political process to drive the change we desire in this country. The youth see themselves as the key stakeholders in Kenyan future. Two, we must enhance and embrace citizen-driven journalism to reshape the narrative and counter the mainstream media biases. Encourage independent reporting and storytelling that reflect the true aspiration and struggles of the people. The other thing you can also use is to leverage on social media. Social media platform to disseminate messages, mobilize support, maintain pressure on the political class. Social media is a potential tool for grassroots organization, advocacy, and real-time communication. I will also add this, maybe I don't know what is your school of thought. I will say we should also form alliance with like-minded groups and individuals, including the civil society organization, activists, other movements that share the vision for better Kenya. Unity, strength, and broad base of support. Final take is also civic education. Educate the public about their rights and their responsibilities. Empower citizens to demand better government. Hold their leaders accountable. Civic education is crucial for fostering an informed and active citizen. We must also ensure our young people are registered to vote. This is something that we miss every time, to participate in the electoral process, to support and encourage youth candidates committed to the cause in the coming elections. Finally, this is the thing, we must maintain violent resistance, uphold peaceful, non-violent means of protest and resistance. Violence can undermine the movement legitimacy and provide the government with a pretext to crack down. Non-violent resistance ensures a high moral ground and broadens public sympathy. With that, I say thank you for giving me this opportunity, and God bless you all.
Thank you very much. Edgar, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Yeah, I had asked Njiru a question. I had asked him, there is an election law where vehicles will now be declared as polling stations. So I was wondering, don't you think a member of parliament will designate his car to be a polling station? What are you doing about this? And then I'm also asking you, Wakili Njiru, kwa nini tusitumie tu ID kupiga kura? Kwa sababu mimi nikitaka kufungua bank account leo wataniomba ID. Nikitaka kufanya those very serious transactions, they will not ask for my voter's card, they will ask for my ID. So how comes mimi nikienda kupiga kura naulizwa voter's card and not ID? And I think ID is more powerful than a voter's card. Don't you think we can skip that process of voter registration and save the 9 billion? Because every voter registration exercise inachukwanga between 9 billion, between 7 billion and 10 billion in terms of money. Why can't we skip that and then we just decide to tumie ID card? Wakili.
Thank you, Eric. Allow me to begin by perhaps sharing my small knowledge about elections. The reason why we register voters, one, is for ease of electoral management. For example, the procurement of election materials. We need to know the exact number of materials that we are procuring. Number two, if we were to say that every Tom, Dick, and Harry goes, and that an ID would be the ultimate document and that does not require registration, it means that then we are not able to hold, rather to account for how many votes have been cast. For example, we need to know how many registered voters are there in a certain constituency and how many turned up for voting. This, of course, will deal with the issues of electoral malpractice because we are certain as to the number of the registered voters. So for me, the problem is not about registration because registration is quite crucial for election management and also for accountability purposes in an election process. Number three is the question of the ID is paramount. And you can see government uses ID as a means of suppressing voters' registration and subsequently suppressing the outcome of an election and the ability of people to express themselves. And while ID is quite crucial because voting must be done by individuals beyond the age of minority, what we should be calling for is acquisition or access of these ID cards. We should be proposing that the process of processing the ID cards ought to be devolved from Nairobi to the counties and make it easy and expedient and efficient for people to be able to acquire them. Because IDs and registration of elections are intertwined. Number three, the question of motor vehicles being used as voting areas or voting regions or voting centers is a serious question because who determines when a motor vehicle should become an instrument where voting should take place and what is the justification? To me, I think that is bad legislation. That is a bad law in my view. It's a law that is capable of being abused. in favor of the persons who have the ability to influence the elections. And as such, that is one of the issues we should be raising with the IBC Act, that it requires urgent amendment so that we may seal all possible loopholes where elections can be manipulated. I think that's all, Eric, for my clarification.
All right. Thank you very much. But before you leave, will you be in a position to connect with Rutendo from Zimbabwe and
Yes,
see if you can follow up on this issue of GMOs, especially this livestock bill? Yesterday, we saw women from Samburu
yes,
protesting that their milk is being taken away by the dairy board.
yeah,
And these issues of rural farmers is going to escalate. Very soon,
yes,
you'll see more and more farmers going to the streets complaining that their
yes.
yields and their produce are being suffocated by government policies and boards and authorities. Don't you
Yes,
think you can link up with Rutendo so that
yes.
as a nation, we can see what we can do to stop these IMF infiltration of our food systems, health systems, and those kind of things?
I would be glad and more glad than ever to join hands with the fellow Pan-Africanists, because
Yes,
this is a
Rutendo.
compounded, yeah, Mr. Rutendo. This is a compounded problem that is facing Africa. For example, that livestock bill is a toxic bill that is being proposed by Parliament. And perhaps just to highlight some of those things is that you'll not be able to grow fodder in your farm. You'll not easily be able to feed your cows with the millet or the corns that you're farming in your farm without the accreditation of a body they are calling an authority to regulate that. Even for you to build a small shed for your cows, you require to be regularized. For you to sell your milk, or even for you to go and get a bull from your neighbor just to come and serve your cows, you'll also require to be regularized. So some of these things are the ones that global movements are making it difficult for us to perpetuate our African traditions, culture, and to perpetuate ourselves. Why are they restricting that my neighbor cannot come and ask for some assistance from my bull to serve its cow? Simply because they want to control the genetics. They actually, in the livestock bill, establishing a genetic center. The genetic center will be manned by an authority that they have created under that particular act. It means that your cow cannot be served by the genes of by the bull of your neighbor, and therefore they are trying to globalize even the manner in which our cows will produce. Not even cows, even your dogs and your pets are also regularized by that particular act. To me, we need a full day to, or a full session to go close by close on that particular act. I've read it, I have gone through it. Is an act that we must call out Parliament to reject the way they rejected the finance bill. But also, we also need to look at the question of globalization and how globalization is also influencing the manner in which and how we live. They want us to completely alienate our food sovereignty so that we may become completely dependent on them. So I will be able to join hands with Rutendo. I don't know how I get his email. Eric, you'll favor me with his email, because even the GMO case as we speak is still in court, in the Court of Appeal. But if you look at the judgment that came from the High Court that was delivered by Justice Angote, you realize that there must have been some serious influences behind these GMO bills, GMO judgment. And those are some of the things we also need to push Mr. William Ruto to repeal. Why should he chalk the GMO policy down our throats? It should be one of the issues that we must be able to target, because GMO is a threat to our very existence. It is threatening our food security. It is threatening us, and I've heard Mr. Rutendo submitting very ably how cancer prevalence and how cancer has become prevalence within this African continent, because there's an intention by the globalists to make sure that they control us even in what we eat on our tables. So Eric, I'll be glad to get that number or any contact that will make us form a formidable force against Mr. William Ruto's policies that he is holding brief for the Americans. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I give to Retendo to respond, I just want to tell my listeners this way, because most people don't understand the consequences of what is just going to happen. These were